And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a first look at Coimbra. The game is not out, it's coming out later this year. From Eggertspiele. This is the new Eggertspiele under Plan B games. And so this is the first look. I had a chance to go to Plan B and play this game. I've only played it with 4 players, but the designers who do this they're part of a group of designers who have designed some of my favorite Euro games, from Marco Polo to just so many good games that they've designed. So I was very interested to try this one out. Here's a little bit of how it plays. Now remember, everything you see here is in prototype form, although the artwork and many things are pretty close to being finished. It's not complete. Now, in this game, you are trying to score the most points, and there is a lot of different ways to get points. And it's going to be done over the course of 4 rounds. Each player is going to have their own board in front of them, and on this board, you're going to keep track of 2 currencies, basically money and soldiers. You'll be using those to buy a lot of things in the game. At the bottom, it just shows you how the game progresses, the different rounds. There's a spot to put dice that you draft, and then there's some endgame scoring and how that works. The game is going to be revolving around a couple things. Some dice that are included with the game. There's 3 of 4 different colors plus a white wild die. And about these cards. At the beginning of the game, players are going to be drafting from some cards, and these cards you're going to get. Some cards will give you an immediate thing, like for example this one here gives me 4 soldiers. Others will give you benefits. So this one here, for example, says whenever I buy a card that costs soldiers, it costs 1 less. But these cards are also one of the 4 different colors over here: gray, yellow, purple, and green. And whenever you take a card that matches that color, you'll move up on that track the number of spaces that it shows here on the side. So I might move up 2 here. This is the track that controls income for soldiers, income for money. This lets you move and travel on the board here. And this one here gives you victory points. So the first thing that will happen in a round is the first player is going to roll all these dice. So there's going to be here, this is a 4-player game, there's going to be 13 dice, 1 more than a number of players, and players are going to take turns drafting these dice in player order. When it's your turn, you'll take a die. So let's say I want a 4 yellow die. That's the one I'm taking. I put it in a little container that shows that it's mine, so I'm the red player, and I can place it on any of these 4 areas here. If I'm putting it in one of these 3 areas, I'm saying I want one of these cards. If I'm up here, I want one of these tiles. These tiles are the same every round. And so as players, let's say someone else takes a 3 and puts it here. 3 is less than 4, so they go after me. But if someone else later on takes a 6, they'll get to go before me. So the 6 would go here. And if someone else also takes a 4, then they'll go after me. If there's a tie, whoever goes there first would win the tie. Now, why does this matter? Because in these 3 spots, whoever places the highest die is going to get to choose a card first. Up here, whoever plays the lowest die is going to get to choose first from these tiles. Once everyone is done drafting and putting out all the dice, you'll go from the top to the bottom. So here the lowest die chooses first, and they'll take one of these tiles. And these tiles do a couple things, like this one, for example, gives you 7 soldiers or 7 coins, an instant thing. This one here gives you 2 victory points and lets you travel with your pilgrim on the board over here. We'll talk about that later. This one gives you 4 victory points and lets you put this on top of one of your dice, adding 3 to its total. So that I can move this up here and make it a 7. And then this one here lets me go on a journey, and lets me go on a journey for a lesser price. And I'll talk about that a little bit later also. So these tiles are useful, but they also have crowns on these tiles. Some of them have crowns. And these crowns, players will be collecting crowns. So there's tokens that are placed on the farthest over and farthest up card of each color that also give crowns. And these are the number of crowns you have. Your turn order also, if you're last place you get crowns, will determine who goes first each round. So the crowns are useful because it will change turn order to get crowns. When you go to these, you'll take a card. You get to pick the card, but the cost of the card is the number of pips on your die. So this person went to a 7, they get to go first, but they're going to have to pay 7. Now the cost of the card is shown on the card. So this would be 7 coins, while if they buy this card, it would be 7 soldiers. So you're going to pick one of those 2 things. When you take a card, it might have something that happens immediately. This is a lightning bolt, so I can immediately travel my pilgrim 2 spots. Or it might be something that's at the end game scoring. This one says for how high he is on this track, he's going to get points at the end of the game. And this one here happens during the phase where you're get income, and it says for every gray die that you've drafted, you're going to get 2 soldiers. Also, whenever you take one of these, you're going to move up that far on the influence tracks of those colors. And a few of these cards have these little icons here, and at the end of the game, you're going to get points for the number of different icons that you've gotten on the different characters. So players are going to go through and take those, and then after that happens, we're going to take a look at these journeys here at the bottom of the board. Now there's a lot of variety in this game. You're going to have these different tiles placed up here where your pilgrims are going to be able to move around on. Anytime you get to move a pilgrim, you're going to move it in a certain number of spaces, maybe 1, 2, and every time you go to a spot, one of these, you're going to get whatever it says. So like for example, this one moves you up 1 on all influence tracks. And then you'll put a token there to show that you can't do that anymore. Sometimes they give you immediate effects, sometimes they give you bonuses that will help you out, and they're going to be different, and some are farther and harder to get to, and they're usually better bonuses. Down here we have journeys that players can go on. These are always end game scoring things, but to go on them you're going to have to pay a certain amount. Like this one here costs 8 money, this one costs 6 soldiers. And players are going to have an opportunity to do that. They're just going to put a disc on that when they do it, and you can do 1 per round. And at the end of the game then, for example, this one here gives you 2 points for every one of these journey cards that you've done. This one here, you take how high you are in influence on 2 of the tracks, the money and the key one, and you divide that by 2, and that's how many points this is worth at the end of the game. And since there is several of these cards included, they're going to be different every game. Now, after that happens, players are going to take their income. Now, income is determined by the color of the dice. The number no longer matters. The number matters only for drafting. Color does not matter over here. The color here matters, and the white one, again, can be any color you want at this point. And you are going to take whatever you are on the track. So if I have a yellow die, and I'm the red player, I'm going to get 3 coins. If I'm all the way up here, I'm going to get 7 coins. If I have 2 yellow dice, I would get 14 coins. So the colors you take are going to matter. This one gives you soldiers, this one gives you coins, this one lets you move a number of spaces around with your pilgrim, and this one just gives you straight victory points. These tracks are also important because at the end of the game, whoever has the most in each track is going to get some bonus points that are placed at the top of the board at the beginning of the game, and this is random. So for example, maybe this one here, the highest is going to get 9 points, and this one here, 7 points. And these are going to be, the number of points is based on the number of players in the game. So in a 4-player game, you can see that one there would be worth 12 points for whoever's the highest, 8 points for second highest, etc. There's a lot of different end game scoring. There's for whoever's the highest in each influence track. You're going to get scoring for these different journeys. A few of the character cards that players have taken have endgame scoring on them. And like I said, the number of these different icons here is going to give you points. And then whoever has the most points after 4 rounds is the winner. The cards here, you're going to be going through these, and they're in 2s and 3s, and so there's going to be all sorts of different cards that are going to show up over the course of the game. And there's a lot more, but hopefully this gives you somewhat of an idea of how the game is played. Like I said, I only played this with 4 players. I know that if you play with less than 4 players, you put some dice chips on the board that kind of represent a neutral player, so that if you don't go higher than these, they'll get rid of some cards randomly. So there's a lot to process in this game. Once again, these guys have done a good job of giving you multiple things. Like when you draft a die, many things are going through your head. What color is that die? Because I can have my income all the way up to the top, but if I don't ever take yellow dice, it's not going to get me a lot of good things. So what color is a die? And then how high is it? Maybe I want a low number so I can go to the top and take one of those tiles. It's pretty important. I might want to go first next turn. But a high number also lets me take one of those cards. But how high do I want to put that number? Because I have to be able to afford it and pay the amount that I put there. And so there definitely is a lot of choices, and because the cards come out in different orders in every game, and because the pilgrims moving them around the board and going different, then those are going to be different. It's one of those games where you're going to want to do everything, but you can't, so you got to kind of focus on some things. Like maybe you want to move your pilgrim all over the board and hit that. A lot of how you choose things is going to be based on the tokens above each influence track. How many points is that going to get you? Or at the bottom, the journeys that you can go, that you can, pay money for people to go on these journeys. Which ones are out there? Because if they really promote certain colors, then those are the colors you're going to go for. Of course, so is everybody else. I really like the dice drafting mechanism. I like that the dice mean a number and a color And so there's some good thought decisions into there. And once you get going, you can get some pretty cool engines built, moving your guy around, get these dice. You're always going to get 3 dice, right? So you're going to be able to activate 3 things. And even if you're at 0, you'll get something from those tracks, but you definitely want to get dice that are going to move you higher. So the dice multiplied by the cards you choose. This is a game I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy. Definitely, the theme isn't very strong, and it's definitely a point salad style game where there's points coming from all places. In fact, the points from the different medals and the people, I thought that was okay. It didn't hurt the game. I just thought it was one extra thing needed. But the rest of the game I really enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to trying it out some more. So that's just a first look at Coimbra.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.
There.